Divine Constitution of Moorish America. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America are in power to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws of the Constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All citizens must properly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah, Islam. To be proclaimed,
Yes.
Islam. To be proclaimed in every meeting.
I got a quick question before you go into this.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean, like, we read it every week and I'm just like now thinking about it. Does that mean we don't work on Fridays?
I mean, it depends on what you define as work.
Okay. Like, I mean, talking about like you working for the man, just in general.
Well, me personally, I don't work for the man.
Right.
But I will say that everybody is in a certain situation, and everybody, you know, I guess you can take the divine bylaws to your what's it called? The higher up, I forgot the name of it, but HR, yeah, human relations of any corporation that you work for, and be like, look, this is my divine creed, and I don't work on Friday. But if not, you know, it is what it is. You know, some people can't afford to not work on Friday. So, you know, some people.
You know how they say Saturday and like in, you know, so-called the Christian relationship. You know, the most Christians that's into a D, they don't work on Sundays, right? So that like Friday is really the Sabbath day.
Right. Should remember in the Sabbath to keep it holy.
Yeah, so that's the day, you know, if Allah rest that day, you have a right to do it, but it's not like a must.
Yeah, that's
Islam. Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, you know, we realize what time people is in. People depending on jobs for their livelihood. So, you know, we get it. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. This is There is a host of jealousy about me in the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials in the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend on for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that contribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it bad. Never before have I needed finance as badly as I do at present, but that I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my work, which I have performed in the last few months because I was at the governor's inauguration to represent the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and I will be at the inauguration of President Hoover for the same cause. And that president, every time I read that President Hoover line, it's crazy because it puts context, because we know President Hoover later on, created the CIA and FBI to shut all this down. So the fact that Noble Drew Ali was among the higher ups is very telling as far as his fame, his nobility, and the work he was putting in. He literally represented us on a lot of different levels, Pan American Conference, etc. Brother Salim, you got it, man.
Islamism, and that was chapter 9, right?
Yes.
Islam, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guidance of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from a sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life, this father God Allah. Chapter 9, Yahshua attends a feast in Bihar, and here he taught human equality. The fame of Yahshua as a teacher spread throughout the land, and people came from near and far to hear his words of truth. At Bihar, on the sacred river of the Brahms, he taught for many days, and Ak, a wealthy man of Bihar, made a feast in honor of his guests, and he invited everyone to come. And many came, among them thieves, extortioners, and courtesans. And Yahshua sat with them and taught. But they who followed him were much aggrieved because he sat with thieves and courtesans. And they upbraided him. They said, Rabboni, master of the wise, this day will be an evil day for you. The news was spread that you consort with courtesans, and men will shun you as they shun an asp. And Yahshua answered them and said, a master never screens himself for sake of reputation or of fame. These are but worthless babbles of the day. They arise and sink like empty bottles on a stream. They are illusions and will pass away. They are the indices to what the thoughtless think. They are the noise that people make. And shallow men judge merit by the noise. Allah and all master men judge men by what they are and not by what they seem to be, not by their reputation and their fame. These courtesans and thieves are children of my father Allah. Their soul are just as precious as his sight as yours, or of the Brahmic priests. And they are working out the same life sums that you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. And some of them have solved much harder sums than you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. Yes, they are sinners and confess their guilt while you are guilty, but are shrewd enough to have a polished coat to cover up your guilt. Suppose you men who scorn courtesans, these drunkards and these thieves, who know that you appear in heart and life, that you are better far than they, stand forth, that men may know that just who you are. The sin lies in the wish and the desire, not in the act. You covet other people's wealth. You look at charming forms, and deep within your hearts you lust for them. Deceit you practice every day and wish for gold, for honor, for fame, just for yourselves. The man who covets is a thief, and she who lusts is a courtesan. You who are none of these, speak out. Nobody spoke. The accusers held their peace. And Yahshua said, the proof this day is all against those who have accused. The pure in heart do not accuse. The violent heart The violent heart who want to cover up their guilt with holy smoke of piety are either loathing, drunkard, thief, and courtesans. This loathing and this scorn is mockery, for in the tinsel coat of reputation could be torn away, the loud professor will be found to revel in his lust, deceit, and many forms of secret sin. The man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds have no time to pull his own, and the choicest flowers of life soon be choked and die, and nothing will remain but the darnel, thistles, and burrs. And Yahshua spoke a parable. He said, behold, the farmer had great fields of ripened grain. And when he looked, he saw that blades of many stalks of wheat were bent and broken down. And when he sent his reapers forth, he said, we will not save the stalks of wheat that have broken blades. Go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. And after many days, he went up to measure again his grain, but not a kernel he could find. And there he called the harvesters and said to them, where's my grain? They answered him and said, we did according to your word. We gathered up burned stalks with broken blades, and not a stalk was left to carry to the barn. And Yahshua said, if Allah saves only those who have no broken blades, who have been perfected in his sight, who will be saved? And the accusers hung their heads in shame, and Yahshua went his way. Islam, I yield.
Islam. So everybody has work to do, essentially. You know, we can't focus on pulling in everybody else weeds and making sure they right. Everybody got, you know, something to do, right? Any thoughts on this chapter? Anybody else got any thoughts, anything they want to say on this chapter before we transition to the presentation from Al-Nur and Jalissa?
I want to say
Islam.
thank you.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead, Jerry.
No, go, brother. No.
No, Islam, man. The low key been on my heart, and I'm glad that we read this chapter today. You know, just based on like what was in the group chat today, and I was just thinking about it, bro. And like we be real hard on each other, real hard on each other. Moors especially, very much so. Like, oh, this Moor, he don't do this like this, and he don't do this like this. You feel me? Like the whole 19 Keys situation. And I seen somebody say something about Taj, and I'm like, yo, even if he's not doing everything perfect, even if he ain't got everything right, like Taj is Taj. Taj done taught so much and so much that he done so much positive. We can't take that and throw it away. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep our hearts to the point where we can't say nothing bad, especially about nobody that's trying to push the movement forward, especially about nobody that's trying to push knowledge itself on our people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a major thing. Like, and Jesus was saying that, like, bro, like, if y'all, you know what I'm saying? We all got somehow, some way, at some point in our life, we done fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And especially, like, when it comes to our leaders and everything like that, like, we can't put them on no pedestal, obviously, because ain't nobody perfect. But still, like, we gotta do better. Gotta do better about talking positively about them. You know what I'm saying? Even if they is fucking up, there's somebody else that's doing good that we can talk about at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's all facts right there. Yeah, I think that'd be my main mission. Cause like I always speak on things that a lot of people are saying, but I always take myself out of it as far as in I don't feel that way. You know, I think I always just focus on we all can do better. You know what I mean? And I don't never put like one mistake over the next mistake. All mistakes are mistakes. So I totally agree with you.
Wow. All right, let me I'm gonna do one more round for thoughts, and then I'm try to share their screen so they can do the presentation. So I'll do last. Brandon Bay, Islam.
Islam, nobles.
Islam, brother Brandon.
Islam. No.
Islam.
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 That's just like that saying when it say you point one finger, there's three pointing back at you.
Right. Oh,
Mhm.
Islam, brother. My bad. Islam, brother Toledo.
Yeah, Islam, everybody.
Islam,
Islam.
noble.
Islam.
That's the thing. Like when you see something in somebody and they in a leadership position, like you can talk about like what the word is out there, and then but you still gotta be able to come with your own use your own discernment, you know what I mean, where it's like I try to do what I think that's, you know what I mean, instead of putting it on them and say you need to do this, you need to do it like that, I would take in effect in my life and try to be the puzzle piece to that. And that's what more need to do, because instead of going under people, like we all need to be strong individuals. And we, with the prophet's word, we can all question each other. And the intelligence is one thing, but characteristics is more important, just like we read in that thing. And I always say this, and that's where we at with this more stuff. It's like slandering in public to, we got to know how to look as a, you know what I mean, as the tempo, we got to look correct. You know what I mean? We really got to be on the principles. And it seemed like that's a very, very hard thing for us to do. We're skipping over the principles and the divine part and we so stuck on, not the national part, but we stuck on the law part so tough where it's like, we skipped over this whole thing right here. And that's why it is the way it is. Like we're moving forward, but we're not. Because if all the temple leaders could eventually, connect in some type of way, then that would connect a lot of other people too. Because, these people are being looked up to. So like, say for me, I go hang out with someone that you maybe do not like. That don't mean I get the same reputation because I'm with this individual. And that's what a lot of things been going on right now.
Islam.
Islam.
So Nora, you should be able to share your screen now.
Can we see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
That's fine. Mother, you want to go first, sis?
Islam. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Jaleesa. I am the Assistant Secretary. Just to let you guys know a little bit about me real quick. Another question that I just wanted to throw out there before I get started. If it's anything that anyone wants to learn or like wants us to talk about, you could put it in a chat. And, we take that into consideration and, make sure that you guys are getting that knowledge and the information that you guys are requesting. So that's just something I just wanted to throw out there real fast. So let's get started. So I'm gonna do, this information is coming from the Torch. And I am going to be talking about the 12 houses, or also what we like to say the 12 mansions. But before I get into that, I kind of want to go over what each planet kind of represents, so that when I'm speaking about it and how it relates to each house, you kind of understand how they go, or why it's in that specific house. So the sun represents life and self. The moon is luminary of emotion. Mercury is of the mind. Venus is beauty. Mars is action. Jupiter is expansion. Saturn is structure. Uranus is revolution. Neptune is magic. And Pluto is rebirth. So let's get started on the house of self. So this one, as you can see, it rules your personality, nature of expression, and is ruled by Mars, but also by Aries as well. The second one is the house of possession. So this is your financial affairs, your gains and losses. It's ruled by Taurus, and the planet is Venus. This one, you gain insight on what belongs to you. That's what I'm getting from that one. Number 3 is communication. Rules, mentality, studies, writings. It also has to do with sharing. This has to do with Gemini. And this one is ruled in Mercury. So this is how written and verbal skills and how they interact. So that's what I got from that. Number 4 is the house of the home. So your parents who are the nurturer, your domestic life conditions in the later part of your life. And then it has the body parts, and this one is ruled by the moon. And this has to do with Cancer. So when I think about this, just to analyze it a little more, I think of my ancestry, like the traditions and my personal beliefs. So that's where that lies. Number 5 is creativity. So this is like your inner child, pleasures, some speculation, love affairs. This is ruled by the sun, and the sign is Leo. And then it's more of expression and creativity.
I will not.
The 6th one, okay, give me 1 second, sweet. Okay, give me 1 second. House of service and sickness. So this rules employees, service, staff, sickness, food, hygiene, clothing. And this is ruled by Mercury. And this is for Virgo. So what I got from this was your emotional, physical highlights of your personal growth also with this one. Number 7, partnerships. So marriages, contracts, lawsuits, enemies, the general public. This is ruled by Venus. Libra is the sign. And it's more intrapersonal. So how you interact with others and how well you're balancing that. So that's it. I think that that's really important, is that balance that we all need to have when we go about dealing with other, other Moors or other people in general, and anything else that, we have to deal with. So that's, to me, that's very important. Number 8 is the house of death and regeneration. So this rules and partners money, legacies, manner in which one exists in the world. This is ruled by Pluto. It says Pluto here, but I also did a little more research. It's also ruled in Mars as well. And the sign is Scorpio for this one. So for me, this one has to do with the focus on relationships. I got like transformation in a sense with this one. So focus on relationships and less on how people behave in the relationships. How are you going to transform them? What are you going to do? Number 9. I have to scoot over. Sorry. Okay. So house of aspirations and mental exploration. So your long journeys away from place of birth, spirituality, visions, educations, intuition, higher development. This one I got purpose. This one is ruled in Jupiter, and the sign, don't do that, is Sagittarius. So I wrote, this one is really important to me because I think that everyone should kind of have an idea of their purpose on Earth. So my philosophy of this was, it centers your higher mind. And then it has a rational investigation of the truths and principles of being. We have, focus, religion, morals, and ethics. So this is also dealing with personal growth and your meaning. Number 10 is social status. So this, of course, has to do with your career, occupation, things of that nature. And it is ruled by Saturn. And the sign is Capricorn. So this, of course, is just a simple career and advancing. And it determines your ambitions also. Number 11 is friendships, hopes, wishes. This group rules the association, social intuition, financial condition of employer. This is ruled by Uranus. the sign is Aquarius. It's also ruled in Saturn also. So I did a little bit more searching on that one. This is how we find harmony with others. So this is important too. And it's all about collective beliefs and actions and one's full potential. The last and final house, the house of secrets. Sorrow, self-undoing, rules unseen circumstances, restraints, limitations, and secret enemies. This is ruled in Neptune, but also in Jupiter as well. And the sign for this one is actually Pisces. So I think of this one as your emotions and your creativity, those two, that how you balance those two, and how you learn from your past actions also. So when you're looking at, say that all of this to say, when you're looking at your chart, and we could kind of go over that a little later. I know that because it's different for everyone. But when these things are, or these signs and planets are ruled in a specific house, then you can kind of get an idea of when certain things are happening in a certain season, why they're happening, and what you're supposed to do. And it helps a lot if you're kind of familiar. But again, if you guys want to reach out to me individually, I can help you with that. And that's pretty much all that I have for that. Did anybody have any questions or anything before I let Alnor take the floor? Oh, one thing I did want to add though. The sixth house. I don't know if some of you guys were in the class probably about sometime maybe a month or two ago. We were reading through Astro Diagnosis, and that is actually a really, really good book. Sixth house has to also, for me, do with health. So that Astro Diagnosis, it cross-references, for example, the signs and what planet is ruled in that, and then it helps you to be able to diagnose your health issues and what's going on and how you can, make yourself better. So that's something too that we probably might go back into, and I think that that was really good also. But if nobody have any questions, I will hand it over to Alnor. I yield. Islam.
Islam, give thanks, sis. Appreciate it. Islam Morris, peace and love. Yeah, so I wanted to go over some fundamental things, because I don't know where everybody's at, but, just so we have a clear understanding of, the separations of citizenship and American nationals, and it's crazy because Allah is the greatest because, everybody was sitting here talking about the grand, the master teacher, Taj Tariq Bey, and that's basically the fundamentals. So that I was going to display for y'all tonight and let him give it to y'all, straight raw, natural Taj Tariq Bey. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get into these fundamental principles. I might tap in on some of the things that he's saying so I could, give y'all some of the lawful definitions. He breaks some of them down, but I'm going to give you some of mine as well. And yeah, so let me know if y'all could hear this.
Understand your agents.
Yep.
Your agency against yourself. No different than if somebody was doing business in your name. No matter where they go around the world, they sign that name that don't belong to them. Why do you think persons that are called Black, Negroes, and coloreds can't vote unless every second breeder of the corporation after the Senate of the House of Rome decides whether they want their cattle to vote with them names that belong to them? Why do you think it only applies to persons who think they're minorities? It doesn't apply to other human beings around the world. It only applies to persons who insist on trying to be somebody that they're not. And no matter how many generations that takes place, they're dead in law. That's what makes you a corpse. That's where the ens ligus comes from. Do you understand? That's the 14th Amendment person. And that's why they gave the corpse the word person with the 14th Amendment. So then people get confused who can't read law. They see this a person and don't know a corporation's a person's too. And so they send them statements of account in the mail with capital letters on it, which means person, corporation, and then you agree to be the corpse.
So that ends ledges, you know what I'm saying? That's a creature of law, an artificial being constructed with natural person applied to corporations considered as deriving their existence entirely, you know what I'm saying, from the law.
And so as soon as you start making an argument, you're already dead in the view of the law. And because you accept it as a bill, which it isn't, you're obligated to pay. When actually it should be discharged because you're under occupation. Of course, if you didn't know that, you're going to act like you're a debtor. Do you see the problem? You see the problem?
And now with discharge, you know, and law, you know, discharge, you know, like, you know, you might have heard about it in people who have been in the army and stuff like that. They get honorable discharge or discharge, whatever. That means to release, to unburden, to disencumber, to dismiss, you know what I'm saying? To cancel or to like unloosen obligations of a contract, to make an agreement or a contract null. And so it's like an act or an instrument by which binding force of a contract is terminated. You know what I'm saying?
Clearfield doctrine. Go ahead.
Well, I got it.
Oh, so since he already said that, I'm gonna share that right now because he's gonna go back into that. So the Clearfield doctrine in the United States Codes Title 22, this is basically what it's saying it is. When a Title 22, when a government operates as a commercial corporation, it descends to the level of all such corporations and has no special powers or attributes. It is only when acting as a properly formed, unincorporated body politic that a government exercises sovereign power of any kind. Virtually all governments operating in the world today are for-profit corporations under a contract to provide governmental services. Okay, so the U.S. major government, the United States of America, hasn't operated as a sovereign entity since 1865. The U.S. minor government, the corporate United States, operates as a corporation. You know what I mean? So the corporation is an artificial person, you know?
Question.
Go ahead.
So the corporations have been given the rights of people.
14th Amendment. In other words, when they did the spurious 14th Amendment, which was actually set up by Field Marshal, this was a disguise. See, because when you go into, you know, like our people are familiar when you talk about 40 acres and a mule. If you ask them to set some substance around it informationally, most of them couldn't tell you. That racist white man is mule. I want my mule. I want my 40 acres. Ask them the substance around it, they can't tell you, which makes them incompetent. Now we're dealing with the 3630 parallel. We're dealing with, they would have to give us, repatriate the people on the land between the Rockies and the Allegheny Mountains, and they recognize that they would have given most of the land back. So they bumped off Lincoln, covered that up, etc., created the 14th Amendment and created the artificial corpse person. Then they needed some nigger marching preachers to convince you to be people of color, which means artificial persons, and make you think it means Afrocentricity. And you agreed to be 14th Amendment persons, which is listed as called U.S. citizen.
So what do you say about the people who try to use their corporate or their corp status as a tool and try to gain the advantages a corporation would have?
Well, when natural persons do that, as they have a consciousness of the secret treaty of Verona and the Spanish Inquisition, which is the real political background that's operating in the world and particularly in North America. And so they're reclaiming the estate or the access to the estate, although they didn't create it, to have some cognate control over it. That's what that's about.
So he's talking about the secret treaty of Verona, 1822, American Diplomatic Code. of the 1778, 1884 volume 2, right, of the Congressional Record of State 64th Congress in the first section, right, on April 25th, 1916, in which all the higher contracting powers agreed to undermine the American government, which was our government.
And so usually they will authenticate the birth certificate, which is where the priesthood, the dark priesthood, the people our people trust, that told them separation of church and state, they're agents for Rome. You can go in any poor community, you go before you get 3 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, you'll find a spy center. And they fund them themselves. They think it has something to do with Jesusness. They're spy centers, and they belong to the Jesuits of Rome, actually. And you're funding your own enslavement. Our people think Christianity means Jesusness. It means Constantine. The Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed is the official name of what is presented to you as Christianity. And it belongs to the popes of Rome. It's a business hegemony system. And the Skull and Bones Agreement for the marching Negro leader guys who you think don't know this stuff is called a 501c3 agreement. And because our people don't read and they don't understand,
And see, that's the 501c3. That's what the preachers get for teaching the word.
they do. These so-called intelligent people that know God, Jesus, Allah, and Muhammad and everything.
Yeah, man. See, because when you teach the word, you get a 501c3 agreement. See, and then the tithing is 10% for God's word.
That 10% tax is Roman tax from Pope Sylvester II. You know, our people are so out to damn lunch. And the real horrible thing is that people you've trusted have been putting this on you and your generations. And this is where your suffering comes from. It really is. Come from the dark priesthood that you think love godness and Jesusness. Yes.
Going back to the brother's
Go ahead.
question here, what I'd like to know, is it practical to try to straddle the fence based on the person that he
Good
asked?
question. Say that again for everybody.
Is
Is
it
it practical?
practical to straddle the fence?
All right.
Based on my understanding of what his question was.
Well, let's put it this way, and we'll qualify it too. I think it's long been stated that you can't serve 2 masters,
Absolutely.
and that's called straddling the fence. It's quite difficult because you give jurisdiction trying to claim jurisdiction. Therefore, you must be clear on jurisdiction. Is why we've always taught jurisdiction, the nature of jurisdiction, the structure of jurisdiction, trinity of jurisdiction, status, jurisdiction venue, then adjudication. Then there's what? How many types of jurisdiction? 3 in general, although there's 4, but in general 3.
Subject matter.
In personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction. Therefore, you must know the aggregate. You must know nation states because they know our people don't know that. And so when you talk about territorial jurisdiction,
They say, yeah, I was in Jersey last week. What?
you wasn't,
Yes.
So as Moors, you got to know as well, it's separate jurisdictions within the United States. There's a federal zone and then the 50 states. So in 1818, U.S. versus Bivens, 336, it establishes that the separate jurisdictions within the United States of America. And that's the federal zone and the 50 states.
Yes, I was.
this is a corporation created on paper.
You know, you can't drive in Maryland. Well,
Maryland is a corporation. It's on paper. So you must talk about the aggregate land. That's why you got to start claiming your land. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Our people need to know the difference between corporations and the natural living, breathing beings and the organic land. And if you don't have claim on the land, then they put you in the corporation because you're listed as a corpse. That's why when they do those licenses, they put all capital letters because it's in the ens legis. Point. But this is what I say. This is what I say. As an example, people, Asiatics and Europeans too, and probably mostly Europeans because the middle class is being dissolved, so they're starting to expose more stuff. How many of you are aware of Lincoln Heights and some other townships or places in Ohio? And there's other places they ain't mentioned too around the country where they shut down the police departments. They had to park the cars. You know why? People starting to learn. They're starting to go after them bonds. And they start putting these people first person. They don't say the police department did it to me. They said Freddie Johnson doing business as a policeman without a bond was messing with me. And they tried to get me to pay a ticket, but I went in there and told the magistrate who pretended to be a judge, I came to get paid. Everybody else was paid. What's up? That's securities. Isn't it? So this is more like less what's happening, but that's how you're supposed to look at it because it's an estate. That's how you. So you're not so much serving two masters. You need to understand you have an estate that they've been hiding and controlling under color of law. Go ahead.
Now, what's an estate? You know, oh no, that's a steep. Didn't put it on here, put on the other one. Okay, my fault.
So that fine line, so this is what we're doing. We're trying to clarify things so that people can make the distinction between the fine line. Because it's easy to step over the line, because you got to know the difference between person and person. It's a nuance, isn't it? And so what happens if these persons don't know the organic person from the corpse?
All right, so person, a man considered according to the rank he holds in society with all the right to which the place he holds entitles him and the duties which it imposes. The word in its natural and usual signification includes women as well as men. Term may include artificial beings as corporations. Now, this is all persons out of the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Territorial corporations, foreign corporations under statutes forbidding and the taking of property without due process of law, giving to all persons the equal protections of the laws.
Well, I'm Frankie, and I want a peanut butter sandwich.
You know, or just like we put up here as an example, we can put an organic plant up here with dirt growing nicely, and then we can get this plastic plant from Kmart and tell the people, come up here, we're going to test everybody, come water the plants. And then we'll see who puts water in both of them. And you know the one who puts water in both of them is either an imbecile or they're minority, got the mentality of a minor. That person cannot present themselves. They would be represented by a barrister from England because apparently they got the mind of a minor. They'd be listed as a minor, particularly if they start talking about human beings or crayons. First indicator. So we got to clean that mess up for real, because that's what's messing our people up. Partially, it's other things, but those things are keys. And those are code systems that the European quickly tells who his property is, because a human being will never dishonor his mother and his father, for he recognizes his pedigree. So you'll never see a Chinese come up here and talk about where's the light-skinned yellow guy's organization. Never happened. He ain't giving up his birthright. So you see grown people run up, you know, my light-skinned black girlfriend. That's property. And they confess it out their own mouth. Who you? Joey Smith. I'm Christian too. Oh, all right. Black codes, and then they get mad. That's what the black codes are for. Such persons outside of human family. However, it doesn't apply to nationals. That's why you see nationals come from around the other parts of the world. That crap don't apply to them. So they're not burned with that nigger tax.
All right, so back to, you know, the two separations of U.S. citizens and American nationals. So in Title 8 USC, I don't know who's on. I'm on Bay. You can go ahead and mute.
My response was, I got you. I can see why you would.
Give thanks. So Title 8 USC, right? Subsection 1101, right? A 321 and 22. Public laws of 15 United State, chapter 24. Under federal code, he's just talking about codes. The international law of the United States of America Incorporated, there is no such thing as dual citizenship. So as you go down to Title 21, or Title 8 sub USC 21, the birthright status of American nationals is recognized. So when we're saying we're Moorish American and we're nationals, that's recognized under the statutory law of the United States of America Incorporated. So there is absolutely distinction between the U.S. citizens and the American nationals. You know what I'm saying?
Clear. And it's structured right in society. It's not even hidden. It is just these people, they're hard-headed. You tell them that human.
Islam. Also back to the estate, right? So in Merriam's, right, in the state, right, the United States is to be regarded as a body politic and a corporate. It is suggested that the United States is to be regarded as a domestic corporation. So far as the state of New York is concerned, we think this contention has no support in reason or authority. The United States is a foreign corporation in relation to a state.
Beings not crayon? My uncle's black. Yes? Well, you can take them right to a dictionary. Heritage Dictionary, and you'll see black is Middle English. It don't go past 1100. And then somebody telling you ancient black anything, then it'll say derived from Old High German. Then it'll tell you it means pale and shining. Ain't got nothing to do with complexion. I'm black. Oh, you're a Paleolithic man? Because that's where it comes from. Paleolithic man is German. Our people can't even read. So no, somebody who's taking advantage of you is not going to argue with you. They're going to say, Ritalin. I'm serious. And so the codes apply. And then when they enforce the code, then we will call them racist. Well, race is called the species. I think the human species is called the race. And the human race is broken down into multiple families called nations. You can go to the United Nations, you can go on the World Courts, you can go to Philadelphia, and you'll see the flags that represent the nations of the earth. And I say the green people and the purple people and the light skin, orange skin, pinstripe people, and don't matter what color you are flag. The only people think that are people have the mentality of children. Of course, they need to be represented by a man, particularly whose name they use in any daggone way. And they're going to tell you about their special personal connection with God and Jesus. All right, anyway, go ahead.
So
Get the point, y'all?
Right.
Go ahead.
So acting in propria persona, in your proper person, claiming
That sets up a foundation that doesn't cure. In other words, what we're doing, this is what we're doing. This is basically what we're doing. We're cleaning the dirty table so that you can begin to eat. It doesn't mean that you're qualified. It's cleaning the foundation. That foundation in law is referred to as honor versus dishonor. The principle in the common law that trumps the ens legis is the honor of your mothers and your fathers. That means the recognition of your bloodline. Therefore, honor your mothers and your fathers that your days may be longer upon the earth land. That translates into what is known as the common law, and it trumps what is called the Roman law, the civil law, and other types of law. If you cannot make a claim, competent claim, to the connection of the heritage, customs, and traditions of your ancient mothers and fathers, that means you better know something about yourself. The common law is not recognized as having any attachment to you. Are we clear? This again makes it dangerous. It's again why we keep telling people, look at these terms in law books, because if you did, you would see your own violations. And you would recognize how your leader's been playing you and why they won't give you them kind of books. They'll start talking about, you see, I spiritually was talking with my grandmom and she just guided me to this. What'd she say? She spoke in tongues. Oh, all right. That's not how things work in the real world. Are we clear? I'm serious. The world ain't gonna take you serious. Let me tell you another thing. We're gonna go not only how Abdullah will give you the etymology and the historical background of the transliterations of scripts. Those scholars who really know the truth know that the whole stories that they were reconstructed in about the 21st dynasty of Hekupta, etc., ignoring the other dynasties prior to that, which were all matriarchies. And this is when you begin the stories of the Jesus type thing that you get today and the Abraham. It's totally contemporary. And if it's not given in its proper cosmological perspective, the world is put into darkness by ignorance. And
by the ignorance. So I'm gonna read a couple of these case laws to help some of that. So in U.S. versus Anthony, the term resident or citizen of the United States is distinguished from a citizen of one of the several states in which the former is a special class of citizen created by Congress. Though the judges failed to fully admit the circumstances, U.S. citizenship was created as an excuse for the government to claim ownership of all the slaves supposedly freed by the Civil War as chattel backing Union War debts. To this day, Black Americans have only civil rights. So in U.S. versus Carisquink, Carisic Hank, there is an our political system, two governments, a government of several 50 states and a government of the United States. Each is distinct from the other and has citizens of its own. A person may be a citizen of the United States and of a state, and as such has different rights. Okay. And so in the United States versus Germain, where the states is concerned, the most recent corresponding decision was State versus Pinckney, 1979. All these are supporting case laws establishing res judicata regarding the nature of the United States original TMO, right? And that is from the TMO is the what was that called? I believe that was the trust. What name was that? Where you go? I'll come back to that. Why is my shit? Oh, okay, wait. Where did it go? I just had it. I should have highlighted this stuff. I probably would have not known where it's at. Oh yeah, the Trust Management Organization. That was the TMO. Okay. So through the trust, the original TMO and a state, one of several states of the Union, as first expressed in the Merriam's estate.
and thinking that that's the beginning of the world. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so scholars really know this, but they won't tell that because the dogma systems that they have set up, which are really dogma systems, which is counterfeit religion, would collapse overnight. This is again why all your preachers are 99% of them in secret are Masons, while denying it publicly. Same thing with all your industrialists. Same thing with all your preachers, presidents, Tom Jefferson, all that. That's why they had Korans. Do you understand? Because they're dealing with the real history. They're not looking at it either spookily, either like, oh, praise the Lawness. They're not really looking at it like you think they're looking at it. They're dealing with the reality. Why do you think all the Masonic orders, the Shriners, everybody got Moorish fezzes dressed in jewels and then turn around and act like they don't know who the Moors are? Well, Moors is just another name. It goes with black and anything you want to. That's COINTELPRO operations. Because soon as you start claiming the birthright, those instruments start dying. Are we clear? Because everything is based on trust and estate. It's not based on money. They stole your money. You forgot that the Christians came here to steal your gold and silver, which is the money. How many generations is it going to take you to figure that out? They're dealing with movements against your estate. Are we clear?
Now, estate is the interest in which one has in lands or in any other subject of property. So an estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signify such interest as the tenant has therein. The condition or circumstances in which the owner stands with regard to his property. And in this sense, estate is consistently used in conveyance in connection with the words right, title, and interest. And it is in a great degree synonymous with all of them.
Europeans can never be the creditors because they are not the source of the estate. They've been administering over your estate under occupational powers. Are we clear? So get that clear in your head. Go ahead, good brother.
So if you present yourself not as a minority, but as the executor and of that trust.
Yeah, now,
Pick
look
this up
at
right here.
Oh, this is really good.
Yep, sure is.
So whenever we're talking executor, whenever we're talking creditor, those types of terms, keep this in mind. Those are simply designations. In argument, it must be refined to a specific identification of the claimant. Are we clear? So if you'll watch how a lot of times Europeans are using those terms because because the middle class is being, and it's pretty much already, they're just using this creditor-debtor argument just loosely out there, right? Well, guess what? An occupier of somebody else's estate can't damn be the creditor. Only one can be the creditor is the heir to the estate. Oh, and everybody else is a debtor. And they ain't Americans. How about that? So we got to clear this up, mustn't we? Huh? So now, if you're going to argue creditor, the only creditor can be here in the Western Hemisphere, the Maghreb, is descendants of the Moors. You're standing on Morocco. And all of the estates and all of the instruments that the Europeans have created, that have created those T-bonds, whether the birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc. on the bodies, have been hypothecated by the Pope under the Spanish Inquisition, enforced by the Secret Treaty of Verona, reinforced by the Doctrine of Discovery, and those instruments or bulls were directed at what? The Aboriginal copper complexion people who are the Americans. That's why they start altering the dictionaries. Now, these Europeans say they Americans, all you got to do is take a copper penny in its natural form, not when they polished it, and put it on the back of your hand and tell them put one on his so you can see who the Americans is. He black, and black means pale. Better look it up in the dictionary. You understand? We're the copper complexion people, and it ain't ebony either. You understand what I'm saying to you? And so you better claim your estate, claim your birthright. Keep this in mind. As you're becoming conscious and you start doing these types of activities, and you'll see brothers and sisters, anybody who comes here that has anything to offer, always pay attention to everybody. Take what is good. But don't fail to look at everything etymologically. And you better have a historical background because history and law goes together. And if you declare to the world one time in a legal argument that you're black, you just killed the rest of your argument. You cannot have a pure glass of water and pee in it and talk about it's only a little leak. Have some. No, I don't think so. I'm not thirsty. And this is what people do when they throw that black thing in there, try to act like it is equivalent to nationalities. Do you see any civilized people around the world start talking about they light skin, orange skin, green people, and don't matter what color you are when they're dealing with the issues of the nations of the earth? You don't see nobody doing that dizzy, crazy, minor-minded, imbecilic stuff but us. And then try to talk about it spiritual. And then wonder why you keep getting screwed. And then you have leader guys keep on trying to justify it, knowing that the issue is denationalization. Because if you don't transact business in the honor of your mothers and fathers, you by your own actions are declared a quote unquote stateless person. Write that down. Go ahead, good brother.
Yeah, Brother Taj. So what you're saying is right on time, because I just applied for medical school, and they asked on the application things that I wasn't aware of before taking these classes. You know, I've been coming here for like 2 years now, and so like I was confronted directly with questions like, "Are you a citizen? You know, your race and all these things." And I'm abiding to my indigenous, my.
And they will make what you call fixed form. And the fixed forms, and understand that's made with the census thing with Carlos Linnaeus, Blumenbach, etc. And those are the code systems where they would describe their property. But they will usually have somewhere other. Now, you're supposed to already know that that's their out from a legal perspective. But if you don't know what to do with that, meaning that if you don't know law, you don't know that that's their legal out to allow you your right to make an affidavit and attach it to the instrument.
This part, let's
See, but if you don't know law, you would never think of doing that. And then if you don't know who you are, you're not even going to go there. But they trying to call me black when I'm light-skinned black. You know, and all that's how we do. You know, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, I can't be." You see, it's not Asian, and so it's not that. I'll just check one off. Oh, now I don't know what that is. I ain't gonna check none of them off. Then they'll fill it in for you because you're incompetent. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is very important. And it's also important when it gets into those gray areas to be well informed of the international community, the International Proclamation on the Rights of a Child, International Proclamation on Human Rights, Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. And of course, Obama signed it to reinforce it because everybody else was ducking it. You understand what I'm saying to you? And so keep this in mind. Obama, the tradition. The president and his wife is leaving the country, right? Going to another jurisdictions all over the world. They're introduced together, correct? That's tradition, right? So Obama goes to Hikupta, which is Egypt, capital dominion of the Moorish Empire. Not accidental. Michelle goes to the Alhambra, last stronghold of the Moors before the Christians did the Pontifex, which is 1492, the overthrowing of Granada. Then they come back and they sign the rights of indigenous people. And then while he's in Egypt, he exposes to the world one of the best protected Masonic secrets. And he says the United States Constitution is derived from Muslim law. Then he goes into Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli. Of course, you all know from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. You hear the song, and he's sending codes. Then they come back and sign the rights of indigenous people, and you see him walking through the double doors with the Moorish flag, big as day, on the left of them. And then our people say, "Hey, Obama ain't did nothing for that, man." What do you mean? He's trying to get you to stop trying to be black, which puts you in the codes. It's an agreement. You can't transact business in another man's name, sign another man's name, and then take on a tag that he created that takes you out of the human family. The state cheats every damn thing you got. That's how they've been screwing you. And if you understand that much, just historically, the average person, you wouldn't have to tell them they're Moors. They'll find out themselves, take you to a child's dictionary and show you that they're Moors. I mean, well, go ahead, brother.
So 2 more points. First, so the bill is going to be like $100,000, but they want money for which we're not dealing with money. And
so stateless person, Stateless person is someone who, under national laws, does not enjoy the citizenship, the legal bond between a government and an individual in any country, meaning you don't have any rights, you know what I'm saying? And they could treat you upon any way, you know what I'm saying? Which is why nationality is important in order of the day.
The creditor.
So it's not so much that we're not dealing with money. You're dealing with estate. See, now, what we want to stop doing, what we really want to stop doing is stop making that statement that we're not dealing with money. Because we are dealing with money. We're dealing with the fact that they stole our money. And there is no such thing that when you start saying most of those statements come from Europeans that's trying to save the middle class. You know, that's like saying there is no dirt. Just because they took your dirt. They didn't take all of it. You still stand, what you stand on? Air, because they took our land. Well, you stand on. No, they hypothecated. They made a claim, a legal claim under color of law without physically possessing it. And most of them don't think they're going to live past 25, and they're not exactly wrong in considering that because their parents have abandoned them.
So color of law, the appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right.
And we can go on and on and on. Complete.
And the last point is with regards to this Ebola scare.
We want to remind everybody that United States Corporation Company, through its operatives, have a patent number on Ebola. So you don't patent something you didn't create. Continue.
So I know a lot of I guess you'll call them patriots, or not even just patriots. Not even patriots. They're not even patriots.
Yes, they are.
Not of this land, though.
Yeah.
Not of this land.
The patriot term, the patries are those who are supporters of the popes of Rome. That's a term given to deputy knights and supporters of the hierarchy of the bishopric of Rome. So when you're talking about patriarchies, you're talking about service to the Pope, essentially from a political perspective, even though that may be taken connotatively. That's its relationship. If you're going to talk about Asiatic Africans, you're going to talk about matriarchy. So patriarchy or patriarchs don't exactly apply to us in this political form. Not that we can't be honored to our fathers in a sense, but in the context of that has been used and applied, it's referring to essentially European males in support of the Christian hegemony. So that's the hegemony of Christendom operating in the world. And so you all look up.
So Christian hegemony refers to the normalization of Christian values, beliefs, and practices, as well as the positive and privileged platforms individuals of Christian faith are afforded through institutional discourse and design.
The Christian hegemony. And what's against you is the Constantinian hegemony, which you have been told is called white supremacy. So we need to get to the root of what things really are so that you can have a better comprehension of what you're dealing with and what's been used against you. We need to stop guessing and we need to know specifically what things are. Again, and I repeat, when you say citizen, you must name the nation state. It has no power by itself. So when they say US citizen, that's a trap without qualification. You see? As an example, on the Moorish nationality card, when it says you're a citizen of the USA, what that means is unity, salvation, Allah. Unless you're told that, you might get twisted. And it should not be presented without qualification. But the nationality is more. The land is Morocco. The insignia of the Moorish nation is the pyramid with the eye of Allah at the top. Are we clear? Because that represents the activation of the pineal gland or Illuminati. And so what you have is Europeans stealing your birthright. And so now they're claiming to be Illuminati. And you say, it's the devilness. And then you give up your birthright because you don't know. And this is how they're ruling you. So they're simply governing over your estate. Think this. How's somebody going to be in your house and they be the sovereign? Huh? So everything that they claim is a colorable claim, color of office, color of authority, right? Color of law.
So color of office, an act unjustly done by the continuance of an office being grounded upon corruption, to which the office is as a shadow and color. Color of authority, that semblance or presumption of authority sustaining the acts of public officer which is derived from the apparent title to the office or form a writ or other process in his hands apparently valid and regular. Color of law. Oh, no. Color of all, yeah. And then, okay, a claim or assumption of right. This is color of office. A claim or assumption of right to do an act by virtue of an office made by a person who is legally destitute of any such right.
Write down, and we told you before, look at this again, hypothecate, hypothecation. This is what's going on. The birth certificate, also, and notice how these things tie together for those who may not know. If you're talking about the marriage certificate that was set up by the DAR is the Daughters of American Revolution, which they have a building in Washington, you'll see it's all marble. Are we clear? Steps, everything is all marble. Daughter of American Revolution, they teach their sons with your science from the womb, apply science to the number 9, and prepare their sons to administer over your state. Their sons are called Kyklos, Ku Klux Klan. Do you understand? And so all of them belong to the circle. They learn the real history, and we run around with beliefs that they told us about. And we think that we've arrived. And we keep getting in this game thinking that we're going to mess with them without knowing the real history, and they're occupying your land. Therefore, Europeans can never be the true sovereign. They can never be the true nobles. This is also why they hide and suppress the original article of Amendment 13 with its original 20 sections, of which Section 12 declares that the trade with Africa is forever prohibited on pain of death and the full forfeiture of the properties of all persons engaged therein. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Why? How are you going to be a citizen of the corporate entity and persons who are occupying your land? Duh. Dred Scott issue? These fundamental things you need to get clear. Because in order to transfer the debt to you that they created under their false premises, they're going to ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? As soon as you say, yeah, you accepted the debt. Are we clear?
And so my last point was, I was pondering that these people want the federal government to shut down the borders as other nations have done. But I'm thinking that they cannot. And they've been lying to the people, giving them reasons why. Oh, CDC says it won't work. Obama says it won't work. But the real reason is because they really don't have the authority.
Exactly. Not just that, but look at this. When they do that, they're in violation of international law. Why? What do I just pass out to you? Clearfield Doctrine. We're talking about what is actually going on and trying to bring our people up to snuff so they can reason. So if you understand what's going on, you understand the politics. If they try to enforce that, they're in violation of international law because these other beings are of nation states under international law. They're not light-skinned, orange-skinned, yellow people, and it don't no matter what color you are. They're Mexicans of the United States of America, Mexico, Brazilians, Estados Unidos do Brasil, United States of America, Brazil. These are the true Americans. They start talking trash. Well, guess what? They can be brought to International Court of Law, to The Hague. Are we clear? They're trying to work this stuff out.
Back to the Clearfield Doctrine. Under the Clearfield Doctrine, the courts are no longer government entities and that they are demanding private monies and must have a contract with you to compel performance. So the Clearfield Trust Doctrine refers to the rule describing the federal court's power to make federal common law when there is a federal law making power to do so and a strong federal interest in a national uniform rule.
To keep us asleep while we keep playing halfway dumb, still trying to get a piece of the action on this system that's already damn collapsed. Middle-class European, the wealthier of them, are denouncing their U.S. citizen. They ain't no U.S. citizen. They going and nationalizing elsewhere. So the IRS don't take the rest of their stuff. And our people still sleep looking for a J-O-B. It's called Job in the Bible. Long O, short O, Job, Job, Job. They're taking all your shit. Oh, yes, they are. House Joint Resolution 2847. Our people need to wake up. And we're doing the best that we can to get past the egos, the vanities, the clubism, because you don't have a lot of time. Because it's already crashed. They're just doing it. You got to give them credit for covering this stuff up really good. But they can't hold it out much longer. The reason why is because they can keep on printing the Federal Reserve notes to cover the frauds of the banks. But they can't make other nation states buy them bonds anymore. And that means that their war machine can't be funded. So this means their allies are going to start turning to China and India and Brazil. This is why they're doing that war. Their game is up. Meanwhile, our people think, I'm trying to be ESF because we want to march and pray on it. And they ain't woke up yet. And guess what? They're going to be eliminated. You can't serve two masters. You see, and it's like this. This European stuff is up. The argument's over. See, our people still have faith in Rome because they think they're getting paid. They ain't never damn been paid. Look at House Joint Resolution 192. You've been given what you would call commercial instruments and securities reference instruments, which is not money. Not only that, they've been foreclosing on you on it, and you can't foreclose on a security. Fraud. I mean, this is just, and the real deal is our people just don't understand stuff. They're not dumb, they're absent of information. Our job to do the best we can to get you this information as solidly as we can and as quickly as we can, hoping you study, please. Because we're not going to be able to do this forever either. Because they're going to use the Ebola stuff and like that, and as people start getting, they're going to be what?
You can't come this area, see, because we found, see, McDonald's over here, we found a patient that had Ebola.
And then the guy escorting them out with suits on, hazmat suits, right? And the other guy keeping notes and he ain't got crap on. But then you ain't caught on. It's a game. It's a justification. Good brother, good seeing you, man.
Hi, Charles, how you doing?
All right, family.
Questions?
Go ahead.
Have question, have statement. If you have a social security number and you're using a social security number, you are a citizen.
No, they say it. It don't make you that. It makes you a corpse. They're claiming it. Don't make it so. And it's back to this whole deal. They're saying they created a fraud and imposed it upon you, and therefore it makes you a citizen. No. Well, what nationality is that?
Well,
No, back up. Let's back up. Because I already respect. Because we're going to have to clean this up. No different than they've set this premise.
When you was a baby, you put your footprint on that instrument. And you was born with a contract. That's not a contract. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Some European can't take a baby's foot and put it on a stamp and say that baby made a contract. For anything to meet the laws that govern contracts, It must be competent. It must not be vague. There cannot be any disclosure. It can't be done by a minor. It must be substance for substance, cannot be vague, and it must have the signatures of two parties with a witness. Now you show me in them instruments got the signatures of two parties plus a witness. As a matter of fact, they call the mother an informant. Continue, good brother.
Oh, what I was
Your
saying.
mom soldier. She's a 20 sandwiches.
What's she doing speaking in tongues? Bull. There ain't no contract. Go ahead,
Well,
good brother.
But people are buying and selling in that name.
Yes,
and-
they are.
And they're subjecting themselves. to
No, but look,
jurisdiction.
look. I'm not arguing that. This is what I'm saying. Before we go there, and I'm not dismissing what you're saying, we have to stop accepting the false premise that the Europeans have set up for us in that sovereignty argument, because they're still trying to claim a birthright and a sovereign right that is not their own. We must recognize that these are hypothecation instruments. An hypothecation instrument does not meet the law that governs contracts. We're not saying that these instruments don't exist. We're not saying that they're not used as if they are legitimate. I say this. Look at the Clearfield Doctrine, right? They say that they're government. Clearfield Doctrine said they're not. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You know, this is why whenever someone who begins to really understand the rules or the laws that govern contracts and trust, when they start contesting, this stuff falls apart and the banks and all them other suckers are declared as a fraud. They're just not enforcing everything because they are thoroughly corrupt. Are we clear? This is another reason why the world is dumping their T-bonds, because there is anything that has to do with economics under the U.S. corporation jurisdiction, there is no legitimate court. There is no justice. There is no remedy. Not because you're bound, because they're a fraud. But continue with due respect.
Well, okay. But we are buying and selling using their.
We can't buy because you can't pay.
Well, we are using their property.
Let's back up.
Okay.
They're using our property.
Is the social our property?
Europeans are occupying Morocco. The resources here belong to us. They've been hypothecating and claiming to be theirs. The rule by which they are to operate on our land is held by a covenant called the Constitution and Treaty. It is supreme law to land anything or any law of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Any statutory codes that they've created that claim, claim that is superior to the supreme law to land is nully. It's dead. And what I'm saying to you, I'm not dismissing what you're saying. I know what they're doing. But what I want us to stop doing is giving it a quality of obligatory principle that doesn't exist with it. It's a fraud that's being enforced under a color of law said only like that. If you or I say it's the quality of a contract, then you verified it as that. It isn't. It still doesn't meet the laws. It doesn't meet the laws that govern contracts. Therefore, we can't argue it as a contract. We can only argue it as an imposition of a security. And a commercial paper and a security that's presented and constructed under fraud. Under the law that governs contract, it is not binding. It's only enforced by force of arms. That's how it must be presented, because that's in fact the truth.
But isn't it not true that there are more than one constitution?
Yes, that 1871, that's what we're talking about. And that doesn't make it valid. See, this is the deal. You can't use the law or the covenant from which an office is drawn or authorized against itself. You can't use the power of the Constitution to rule against itself. It's neutered.
But Didn't the 14th Amendment create another constitution, a corporate constitution?
Clearfield Doctrine, you got it right in your hand. And it's based on that very thing. Like I said, this is what
And if
next
you have-
time we come, look, this is what we're gonna do. The next
Let me
time
just
we
say
come,
this, let me just say,
go ahead.
and if you're using the social, you're subject to
Yes,
that jurisdiction.
yes.
And
Now,
you do not fall under the republic, you're in the democracy.
well, no one's under the republic because they overthrew the republic.
The republic still exists.
Now, aren't we declaring it?
It
when
never
you-
left.
When you claim to be more and you enforce the Constitution and treaty, you're supporting the republic. The opposition you have is the demo order of Delano Roosevelt, their coming out party. This is what's going on. And so you have Moors who are supporting the republic, and the people think they're out to lunch because they think they demos. And then they're trying to give legitimacy to a de facto government because they don't know what de jure is. De jure didn't stop being because they set up de facto. This is the Clearfield Doctrine again. Read it. Read. Can I use your respected QLs?
All right, well, I read that, so I'm gonna
Right here.
fast forward this.
No.
Right.
Bottom paragraph. Commercial paper and securities, which means those checks, those Federal Reserve notes, and that's anything associated with it. So that means the birth certificate, marriage certificate, all the Social Security, all these instruments that they used to regulate these security notes, because that's what they exist for, right? The privately owned Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, and the corporate states created birth certificates as constructed by, used by, and sold by the private foreign owners, officers, employees, beneficiaries, profiteers, agents, and agencies doing business as the United States of America Corporation Company and their, chartered and licensed franchisees, etc., have been and are deceptively traded as fungible instruments. Such practices have been and are declared by the United States Supreme Court as being criminal and felonious violations of the law. Securitization. That's what is being done, which is the process and practice of homogenizing financial instruments into fungible securities, and selling such felonious instruments on the securities market is unlawful and illegal for private corporations. HJR 2847, bail-in, confiscation of assets, blah, blah, blah. At what point is that a lawful contract? When the highest court in the land is declaring all that stuff a fraud. And how are we going to say it's binding? Everything they're doing is under color of law and force of arms. This is why the civilized world is turning on them. And so what I'm saying is,
Right now.
I do not refute that the operative use of these instruments implies, not establishes, an implied obligation that still, in fact, does not exist. That which is created in an illusion remains an illusion. That which is created under a color of law remains a color of law. Thus, the highest court in the land has declared all of those fungible instruments that they homogenize as unlawful and fraud. Tell me where it is obligatory.
But when you're buying and selling.
That's not what I asked you.
Okay, when you're buying and selling with the.
You're not buying, you can't buy because it can't be paid.
Okay.
Because it's movement of a state. It's not movement of House Joint Resolution. United States. You can't pay a debt with a homogenized securities instrument. It must be done with substance. It's in violation of law of money. You can't call it money.
I agree with that.
So you can't be, you ain't even been paid.
You're discharged.
Now, all right. Now, according to the public law and international law, under rule of occupation, we're under occupation. The estate is ours. By them violating the Constitution, by virtue of that act, the remedy is that all so-called debts are discharged automatically. However, what they've been doing is fraudulently misrepresenting it sending you statements of account, telling you that there's bills and telling you have to pay by listing you as a debtor instead of a creditor. That's all it is. That's all it is.
But are they
You have no obligation.
are they doing something illegal if you're a citizen
A citizen of what?
of the United States?
And which one?
And the 14th Amendment, United States,
And
the corporate constitution.
It's important right here.
14th Amendment.
the 14th Amendment is a corpse. It's dead. Are you dead?
If you're using,
No, I'm just saying.
if you're using the social, then yes, you are. You're one and the same. If
Well, you listed as dead. Now, that's what we need to qualify. Now, this is why it's important for people to know law books, know the terms, know how they should be prospectively placed when we're making these discussions, and stop admitting to be dead when we are indeed not. So the issue is
And
a
full life.
person natural who is not in their proper person, go, law book. If anybody got on your computers, go into impropriate persona. Impropriate persona, please, real quick.
Impropria persona, in one's own proper person. It is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona, because if pled by attorney, they admit the jurisdiction, as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. In some jurisdictions, however, this rule is no longer.
And read it out real quick. Now, if a plea is made before any court, in the argument, etc., it must be pled in propria persona. For if not, the court is assumed to have had leave because an attorney or lawyer is an officer of the court. And if you're not in your proper person, the court automatically has jurisdiction. And so since court is not just those rooms, it's society in general, and all transactions are made, anything that's take place in what you call an aggregate court is only for the what you call final resolution, when all aggregate is considered and all the dross is moved away and you come with the scales of what's left. And you better be in your proper person. And if you're in your proper person, all that color stuff don't count. That's why they don't want these people to know nothing about nationality. That's why they created the color code system, so that we'd be outside of the human family. And then buying and selling, not with their instruments, thinking that we're buying and selling with the mark or the number of their name, which makes you agency of movement of your own damn estate. We need to really refine what's really going on. Stop talking about, we paid this, and since we got Social Security, and since we had $2, you didn't have no dollars. Dollars, gold, silver coins. Stop calling the fiat. We gotta stop calling things what they're not. Because when you do, it is no different than we before court, right? Before so-called court, right? And you said, Todd, you had your sneaks tied together on Thursday. That's against the rules too. Man, no wonder I was walking smooth-footed. Then I say, since that's the case, we dealing with admiralty law here, so we're not dealing with constitutional law. We're dealing with estates and trusts and stuff. All right, so I sign you trustee, and since I'm the beneficiary, I want you to expunge all this mess.
Yeah.
And give me $550. How much? $550 from the few minutes I got here. Mean that you create a trust on the spot
Right
verbally.
there.
Why? Because you're an heir to the estate. If you rules too. Man, no wonder I was walking smooth-footed. Then I say, since that's the case, we dealing with admiralty law here, so we're not dealing with constitutional law. We're dealing with estates and trusts and stuff. All right, so I sign you trustee, and since I'm the beneficiary, I want you to expunge all this mess. And give me $550. How much? $550 from the few minutes I got here. Mean that you create a trust on the spot verbally. Why? Because you're an heir to the estate. If you knew that. That's how that's done. That's why it's done. That's why you can assign them right on the spot, even with a verbal trust. But if you call him officer, you also assign him that too, and he accepts it. Call him judge, he accepts that. We really need to be clear on what's going on. And I'm not dismissing what you're saying. What I'm saying is the way the European presents it. And it's a muddied argument because they're still trying to claim an estate that ain't theirs. Go ahead, good brother. But I'm not dismissing what you're saying, and we need to work that out. But my whole argument is that we need to clean up the language that the European freemen are presenting because it's still colored. The principle of the argument is valid, but it's still distorted. And if you take it just like it is, you give them just enough to do what? This is what you do. Why do they create LLCs? Limited liabilities, corporate entities, to hide behind. That's the mask. Personality, Latin, mask. Am I right, Salah? Personality, mask. Oh, so, and then you start talking to, and you know, I wrote Santa Claus 10 years. And UCCs too. I ain't got a bike yet. I'm suing them. Well, you'll probably be arguing with Santa Claus for the next 10, 20 years because he's a fiction. Why don't you argue about that guy who got the suit on? You know, we keep arguing the corporate person in the first person. We need to stop doing that, pull the mask off them, identify the persons, because soon as you say citizen, you must name the nation state. Now, oh, you're an Englishman. No, I'm American. No, you ain't, sucker. Go ahead. But you get the point. You get the point where I'm coming from with that.
Purpose of the titles, El Bay Day and Ali.
Admiralty courts. Yeah, they're admiralty courts. And as a matter of fact,
when you go in there as a living, breathing divine spirit, you're not even supposed to be there.
yeah, but you know,
And you're supposed to know that.
but you know this too. They're not even courts. They're auction blocks. United States courts have
They are
been.
courts, they're legislative courts.
There's no lawful courts in the United States since 1789. Go look at the law. I can bring the documents.
Article 1,
For
Section
court,
8.
For a court to
They
be,
can regulate commerce.
they regulate, they can regulate. They're
They're
simply a commercial trading block. They're auction blocks.
But they're Article 1, each branch of the government has its own court. There are
All right.
Article 3 courts.
I'm not
Article 1
arguing that.
courts, and there's
I'm
Article
not
2 courts.
arguing that. Look what we keep falling for. United States federal government has been dissolved. House Joint Resolution 192. They don't have any offices. They've been transferred to the IMF. We keep giving them equality. That's why they keep having the power. And it's not that I'm not arguing where you're coming from. I'm not arguing that. This is what I'm trying to do with us. We got to stop empowering them by claiming something. This is what we're talking about. We go to Depot now and we go to Lowe's, right? Remember they had two guys and they had Rickles and Channels? Well, see what we're going to do right here, get some Channel stock. See, because if you cash in the Channel stock, I don't think you should buy Channel stock. Because it's cashable. I don't think you should buy Channel stock. Because GM is starting to make saddles. I don't think you should invest. Maybe tires, engines, don't invest in saddles with GM. It's not a good idea. We keep, and now, the argument that we're making is great, and I think that we should bring that out and explain it and talk about what's happening to us. But what I'm really suggesting to you, me, and all of us is that we must look at those arguments and clean the language up because it's colored. It's not the intended, we're not talking about the process that it is not how it works. I'm not arguing that. We're giving them a quality that doesn't exist with them, and you have the power to do it. Yes, one is the fact of law, one is the process of law. Anybody have House Joint Resolution readily available in the printout? Since I'll pull that up real quick and read the first two paragraphs, please. United States, this is United States, Florida Congress, the legislature, and so this is where they make so-called laws, right? I want you to get your stuff off, good brother. You go? All right, sis. Salah,
Yes,
do your stuff, girl.
okay. To assure uniform value to
No.
the,
No, House Joint Resolution 192. Trafficon speech on
Oh,
bankruptcy of US bankruptcy. US, which is a corporation company. Y'all gotta get clear.
That's
The
right here is important
US
too.
United States Corporation Company is not the United States Republic. It has no governmental powers whatsoever. I got it right here. Let me borrow Ken's spectacles. This is the Florida Congress. I'm talking about how we supposed to look at this. Now we talking about how European freemen are arguing this thing, trying to still get themselves in. Because they're all US. You not. Mr. Speaker, we are now here in Chapter 11, and members of Congress are official trustees. So if there's trustees, that means there's an estate.
A state, and there
If
are,
they're trustees, they damn sure can't be the beneficiaries.
that's us, the beneficiary.
Presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government, we are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. And there are some who say it's a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. So you see the dilemma that the European so-called citizens are in, because they the U.S. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved. So what franchise that they got or what stock they got is legitimate? Any corporate entity that's dissolved, what you mean they got stock? What you mean anything that they create is lawful? Anything that they do, anything they operate is dead. They're a private citizen, no different than anybody else. Thus the Clearfield Doctrine, which I gave y'all before we came here, before we start. Clearfield Trust Company, it was inadvertently concerning a check. But in doing so, they undid themselves with their damn greed. Clearfield Trust Company versus United States 38 US 63, 371, 1942, 43. Governments descend to the level of a mere private corporation and take on the characteristics of a mere private citizen, where private corporate commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, and securities checks is concerned. For purposes of suit, such corporations and individuals are regarded as entities entirely separate from government. What U.S. court? We gotta be clear on what's up. We keep giving them qualities, and when you give it to them, they accept it. This is all I'm saying. I understand that. I understand that. Yeah, but they're not operating under any constitution. Listen. All right. Constitution. Let's back up. Let's back up. Article 6, Constitution for the United States of America, the Republic. All debts and contracts entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be binding against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. And all treaties made or which shall be made in pursuance thereof shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges of every state shall be bound thereby. And any laws or constitution of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. We're Moorish Americans. We have a treaty that superseded, which Obama talked about. We enforce that constitution and they are bound. And our claim supersedes their claim. Now, you're talking about the problem that the Europeans, U.S. citizens have, not Moors. Because we're holding them to the law. And we're not bound by some secondary constitution crap that Ben and them did in 1871 with their tripping, and then with them setting up their democracy order, which they had no authority to do whatsoever. that fraud can't supersede this Constitution.
Islam, this brother right here, he want to ask.
All right, goodbye.
It's almost done, y'all. I know y'all probably tired.
Just want to make
We
that point,
almost
but I'm
done.
not denying what
But
you're
this is
saying.
real
but what they're
some
doing.
gems for
I'm
everybody
just
to
saying
take
we
in.
need to Look at it differently. Go ahead, brother.
Just 1 second. So, based on what you said, so what is the role of Obama in all of that? Like, what is Obama doing in, the whole thing? Like,
He's put his neck on the line. Lucky he didn't get shot.
no,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, he's obligated because he's the praetor of that corporation. But what he did, he set out strong signals. It's on us to act on it. We've been trained to look for sacrificial lambs. When they gonna lay his neck on the railroad track like the other guys, like Malcolm and all the rest of them, when they try to tell us we disses them, and then after they kill them, then we talk about what great men they are. We good at that. And we need some more sacrificial lambs. No, we need to take damn responsibility. Honor our mothers and fathers, declare our nationality, understand the signals that he sent. Because I can show you a picture big as day. Just type in the computer. What does Obama have to say about the Moors? And duh. And if you can't read between the lines, and the people saying, what he done for the black man? It's like, we need to grow up. Stop trying to be phonies, everybody that we're not, and then complaining about the results of our own foul. Look up, do me a favor, next time you come, go to your law book, look up the common law, and look at the aggregate basis of the common law, and please take 10 minutes next time you come and report it to the family. And you will see the common law trumps the Roman law, the civil law, and other types of law, as it traces back to what? Archaic traditions and customs, which means if you can't trace back to the ancient traditions and customs of your forefathers, you can't use the common law. This is why the Europeans, those so-called European free guys and stuff, that's why they run into problems. Because you know what the judges tell them? You can't use the Constitution as a defense because you're not party to it. But guess what? We can, because we got a treaty that supersedes it. How about that? Sealed by Article 6. That's what we're supposed to be saying. So these other constitutions that they created, it ain't our shit. That's their private corporate stuff. That ain't got a daggone thing to do with you, unless you keep on saying it do.
Taj,
Yeah, go ahead.
in the preamble, where it says, we the people of the United States.
Yes,
And then when it get into the end, it says, the United States of America.
yes,
So
two
the
different
United States
entities.
would be the corporation, correct?
No, the United States would essentially deal with the aggregate natural. United States of America is a corporate entity.
So I thought the United States of America would be the land and the United States would be the corporation.
Now, no, the land is Morocco. It's covered up, it's Societas Republica El Almorocanos, covered up by the United States of America. In other words, that's the veil. That's the veil. You understand? And so what you have is United States, in order to secure our posterity, et cetera, that simply represents the unity. And so that represents treaty and the Constitution, which is a covenant, is essentially for them to do business on our land. And this is the bind. And soon as they break it, there's nothing for them to say. There's no authority to do anything, period. The key is that we fell for the game of transacting business in their name and talking about human beings are crayons. And talking about we Smith, Jones, and Johnson and Christians, thinking it's a religion and gave up our birthright to that. I agree that we were in violation. You understand? But outside of that, there's no claim that they can make in any color of law and talk about it as binding, because it ain't binding. As soon as you or anyone makes a refutal or rebuttal against that, they will declare it a nullity. As an example, when you all see, because I know our time is short, how much time I got?
About 5 minutes. Yeah, about 5 more minutes.
All right. Some of y'all seen, and some of you have used it, and people have used around the world, and also mostly in North America. that allodial permit that we put on the website. Now, when I built the community center in Buena Vista, the Europeans came there, put their orange tags on it, blah, 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 you know, stop. You can't be doing this and blah, blah. Now that's, so the brothers, you know, property, et cetera, I'm building this community center. So, nationalized them real quick, et cetera. And we did a removal, a writ of removal, and then took it to Superior Court, right? Knowing that still they're all colored, right? And the Pellegrini is the name of the European so-called big time lawyer with the $2,000 suit type stuff, 2,000 note suit.
These Moors think they ain't supposed to pay taxes and stuff.
In the court, you know, a court's like a theater. I mean, it's so big that like movie theater on that side and the back and everything. And he said, Raj Bay, you called him up, right? So me and Brother Raj came up and the Europeans, it was mostly Europeans in there, and they were like, you know, everybody silence, you know, saying what this is all about, right? And so Pellegrini was saying,
These Moors think they ain't supposed to pay taxes and stuff.
so, so the judge, magistrate, anyway, go on. Is oh, wait a minute. Yeah, and he's just talking big trash. Me and Brother Raj sitting up there. You have these papers?
He said, yeah, and they think they ain't supposed, and we have all kinds of violations, and they're building a building down there, 75-foot building by 20-foot, ain't paying any no permit and stuff.
You have these papers?
Yeah.
Trial de novo. Mr. Bay, all claims of contempt by Buena Vista, dissolved, don't exist. All fines don't exist. All claims by Buena Vista don't exist. Trial de novo, make sure he gets the papers. Next, he was red and mad and everything. That's when they tried to make me disappear that night. And people use that all, that's where that writ came from. So I constructed that writ, posted it on the building, and every day when in the morning we had to come and get it, Europeans was coming around stealing them off the building. And I finished building that building, they would ride past, the inspectors was riding past, they wouldn't come on the land. They was mad at me. And I built that community center with that allodial permit. It's based on me understanding who I am and who they damn ain't. When we went down there, Buena Vista, they had the building inspectors and all these people there. Me and Brother Raj walked in there with a suitcase, and they had the 2-piece paper and says, that's permit, you know, the application and permit. And I looked it up and said, who's treating? And they looked, and one of the Europeans got up and he walked out. I think he smelled smoke, right? You know, like the vending machines down the corner? No, treaty, right? And it says, owner, applicant, etc. Applicant may be an owner. I said, you ain't signing none of this stuff. Any of y'all got treaty? What are you talking about? I said, do any of y'all got treaty? Well, we're going to increase the fines, you know, because the fines and always already accumulated close to 10,000 notes, right? They, you know, anyway, that's after that we took it to court, took it to the higher court. They was mad. They came in the middle of the night and took me and tried to hide me. They was moving me all around all the jails and everything. Yeah, they was pissed. And a lot of people have been using it ever since. This is also when I did that reversion and the when I did the questionnaire for the foreclosures when they was trying to sell those people's properties in 211, and Fox News and them was out there. And that shut that down, and Congress sent representatives up and sent what, 100 some odd million notes or whatever. Supposed to be helping these people because the so-called judge wasn't going to give them a stay. They was pissed. The lawyers stopped talking to me after that. So I passed that all around. And that's what they've been countering all this stuff about too. And then you've seen a lot of people were getting conscious, but they started off using the UCCs. Then in the middle of their stride, started trying to declare Moorish nationality. European wasn't having this, called a conflict of law. You understand what I'm saying? So they've been trying to intimidate a lot of people. But the point that I'm making is this. They're pissed. But if you understand who you are and understand who they are, you mess the system up. My issue with you all is to get us conscious and growing, because some of you will see more than I see and others see. The issue is to build on a solid foundation. We've given you and are giving you foundation information. It's not based on emotion. It's not based on belief. It's based on fact. But you must understand that you're under occupation by European foreign entity persons pretending to be government, your government, but you haven't been acting like it. Therefore, you're being accused of abandoning your estate. According to law, any movements of what you would call transfers of commodities, ETC, are simply discharged by law, by international law. What has happened as the people are waking up, the Europeans are really upset because it kills the banks. They're going to close. So they're countering you with colorable actions, not because you're wrong. Are we clear? So what I am recognizing that people start thinking that they're wrong or they need to do something different. They need to solidify their actions, stay on point. But what's happening with a lot of people, they're trying to get a position in the system with a job, so they don't want it to completely fall. Well, it must fall before it can be cleaned up. You understand? And so a new world order must come in. The issue is whether it's going to be built on an honorable principle of constitutional law, or whether it's going to be built on a colorable code of the secret treaty of Verona. That's what you're faced with. And since we have difficulty making up our mind, China, Russia, India, Brazil, and other nation states, including Germany, their main ally, are now turning and they're dumping them UST bonds. And so whatever investment y'all think y'all got in the system that you keep on trying to get a hold on is done. It's over. So it's in your interest to really study the stuff real quick, get grounded, put your stuff in the state, stop transacting business in that European's name, because he's going to take all your peanut butter sandwiches and the jelly. House
No, we
Resolution-
got enough for like 2 more
Yeah.
questions, but in the meantime,
Go ahead.
I want to take donations if anybody.
Islam, Morris, peace and love, man. That's the end of that right there. I'm glad I was able to share that with the Moors. You know what I mean? I hope y'all got a lot out of that. You know what I mean? That is the brother, the Grand Sheik, the Moor Avenger, Taj Tariq Bey. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all do, you know what I mean? Jump on there. What's that, YouTube? You know, pull them up, you know what I mean? Get your studies on, learn from all the master teachers that we got out here. I don't know how to open my damn screen back up to the regular view. But yeah. Let's share. Okay, no, I said I'm already there. Islam more. So that's my presentation, you know, with the Grand Sheik. I just wanted to touch on that, the fundamentals, the foundation, and what we need to be on. And yeah, Morris, this was bliss for me. You know what I'm saying? Give thanks, and hope everybody got a lot out of that. You know what I'm saying?
Phenomenal presentation, boy. Sure.
That's fine,
Brother
no.
Todd.
Thank you.
Brother Todd are definitely on fire. Sandwiches. That's the best part.
He was killing me with them voices, yo. He was killing me.
Sandwiches. I was like, gosh. But yeah, that was
It's crazy how he
Probably-
carries himself, though, 'cause even though he's like impersonates the ignorance, he doesn't laugh, you know, because he's trying to point out that we're the joke.
Giving me life.
That's right. Yeah.
Man,
I just had to
Ain't
share
nothing but have respect for him. Like, you know?
Yeah, that's why I found it kind of funny too, because y'all was talking about it, you know what I mean, previously in the chat. So it's like, that's cool because I show prepared for this with the brother Taj, you know what I mean?
Right.
Sersky.
That's
Sure.
it's kind of like China and all those corporations dealing with themselves and not dealing with the U.S. anymore. You know what I mean? So
and this
it's
and
literally what he was explaining.
yeah,
What you
and,
was.
and that's basically over 6 years ago. You know, he was talking about that, you know, because he couldn't put out as much as what we're seeing today on Instagram and social media and stuff like that, like how everything's coming out, Tartaria, all the lies that they've been lying, all the cover-ups they've been doing against our people, you know. So that's how valuable that power or that information was, you know, and he had to like, you know, it's just like, you know, when you start talking about the vaccine and all that bullshit, you know, how they was trying to block people. They was doing that to him before social media was really big and popping, you know what I'm saying? And that's how you know, like he still got a lot of stuff that, you know what I mean, he trying to put out to us so we can utilize it. So it's just like, you know, that's why it's important that we are studying and we are, you know, taking heed to this knowledge because it's important for us to share this to the babies, man. It's the heirs that, you know what I'm saying? And then on my next little study, I was going to go over like acceptance for value, you know, like when we start getting these people sending us stuff like notice of acceptance for value. So I got like a couple cover letters I wanted to go over. So like, you know, how to respond to them and send them shit back. Like, yo, you know what I mean? Show and prove that you are who you say you are. But for the most, you know what I mean? Supreme love to all the Moors, you know what I'm saying? Give thanks for y'all allowing me to, you know what I mean? Put the master teacher on for us.
Yep. Thanks, Noble.
I just want to add, because you were going over the estate and stuff like that. Everybody just go and I'm pretty sure everybody in this group got Black's Law Dictionary. Look up nationality in its entirety, and it's going to say it determines your political status. And then go jump to status, and then that determines your relationship with your estate. Wanted to add that just to wrap a bow on what you were saying before you show the presentation, and then connect the dots, right? But
There you go. There you go in the chat, Mafi.
Right, exactly. Yep. So that, so that all ties into what you were saying.
So here we go, nationality, that quality of a character which arises from the fact of a person's belonging to a nation or a state. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with reference to allegiance, while domicile determines his civil status. Nationality arises either by birth or by naturalization. According to Saving Nation nationality, it also used as opposed to territorially for the purpose of distinguishing the case of a nation having no national territory. So when, like you said, going into status is that standing state or condition, the legal relation of an individual to the rest of the community. So the legal relation of the individual to the rest of the community. The rights, duties, capacities, and the incapacities which determine a person to a given class. A legal personal relationship not temporary in its nature, nor terminable at the mere will of the parties with which third persons and the state are concerned. Which terms apply relation, and it is not a mere relation. It also means estate because it signifies the condition or circumstances in which one stands with regards to his property in the yearbooks. It was used in a sense. Islam.
Wow. All right. So anybody got any questions on that? If not, we can close out to Friday on the holy day. Islam, Brother Bennett Bey. Who else came in here? Brother Moon Bay, Islam, peace and love.
Islam. Peace and
Um,
love to all the Moors.
Benjamin Bay, he got a presentation on Friday. Looking forward to his
Yeah.
presentation. And yeah, peace and love, Morris. Hope everybody have a beautiful night. And I'll see everybody on a holy day.
Peace and love, man. Islam.
Recharge well, Morris.
Peace and love.
So y'all quitting it.
Wars.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Thanks for everything, guys.
Islam, Toledo. Peace and love, Moors.
Love, peace and love.
Hey,
Islam.
Feliz Dele.
Islamism, Mafia.